What?
Hey, you, over here. Yeah, I know I have the same clothes and face as you, but first off, we need to talk about order of operations. It's one of the most fundamental and key elements in math, and you can't just miss it. And it's not the medical one that you thought of right then. So stick on with this video and you'll finally learn what it actually is. Okay, listen up here closely. So this is the order of operations, PEMDAS, as you would call it, and it's always from left to right. And you may be asking, well, what is PEMDAS? And I'm glad you asked, because that's what this video is about, the order of operations. So P stands for parentheses, E stands for exponents, M stands for multiplication, D stands for division, A stands for addition, and S stands for subtraction. So basically in here, the reason why I boxed, or at least the thing that looks like a box, is the multiplication, division, and addition and subtraction. And that's because multiplication and division go together. And so does addition and subtraction. And those are basically the last two. They're given the last two importance. Multiplication and division are given more importance than addition and subtraction. And before multiplication and division is exponents, or numbers with exponents. And before exponents is parentheses. So, like I said before, it goes from left to right. So what I mean here is here, if you do 6 times 2 plus 8 divided by, let's say, 2. Okay. So in this case, you remember when I said multiplication and division are given the most importance, or at least more importance than addition and subtraction, right? So here, that's why we first solve 6 times 2, and that's basically going to be 12. And we solve the next division problem. See, so when I say left and right, you don't always follow that rule. So you do, but it's a little complicated, not really. So you first focus on the hierarchy, should I say. Like, since we know multiplication and division are given more priority than addition and subtraction, we focus on multiplication and division first. So since I said 6 times 2 is 12, 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then we add them together. And then we bring that addition symbol. And so we know that the final answer is going to be 16. And this is the reason why order of operations is actually important. Because if we didn't have this hierarchy, and if we didn't follow it from left to right, like if we, in this case it wouldn't have mattered if we did from 8 divided by 2, then 6 times 2, and then you add them together. But in some cases, with like, there may be like more numbers between them, then it matters. But still, mainly what I'm talking about is the hierarchy here. If we didn't follow that, if we just went a free fall, or free flow, so 6 times 2 is 12, but you don't do the division first, you just add it by 8. So 12 plus 8 is 20, and then you do divided by 2, you'll get 10, which is a completely different answer than 16, but 16 is considered the universally correct answer, and that's why order of operations not only applies to just this topic, so to speak, it applies to algebra, applies to like geometric problems. It applies to almost like every single math. This is the universal way to solve an expression, basically. And that's why I told it's very important, because, you know, if you don't know it, then you're kind of in bad luck, in a bad spot over here. So let's do some more problems. Okay, so here we have 3 problems, and they're all very easy. I know the third problem with all the parentheses may look a bit difficult, but it really isn't if we follow that an intimate rule, which I'll talk about once we reach there. So here, let's start the first one. We know that in PEMDAS, P parentheses first, so we focus on the parentheses. And the intimate rule, actually, I'll speak about it right now. It's basically the internal parentheses. We're supposed to solve what's ever in there, and then move on, like, externally, basically. So the interior parentheses, or the internal one, 6 minus 2, right? This is inside these, or this. So 6 minus 2 is 4. 4 times 4 is 16. And so this, since we solved 6 minus 2, we're supposed to solve that first, since that's inside the 4 times their difference, that parentheses. So since you know 6 minus 2, just like I told, 4 times 4, this is going to be 16. And then we do left to right, remember? So it's now going to be 6 times 4, the whole expression. 6 times 4 divided by what we got, so 16. And obviously this is not going to be a whole number, but let's solve it. So 24 is 6 times 4. 24 by 16. And we get 1 and 8 over 16, or 1.5. And that's going to be our answer for the first one. Okay, second problem. It's pretty much easier. So remember, PEMDAS, obviously P, we have parentheses here first, but we have to solve what's inside that to solve the rest of the problem, right? That's what P, or parentheses, means in the hierarchy. So since there's an exponent inside the parentheses and there's a subtraction sign, we do the exponent first. So 1 squared is basically just 1. And so it would be 2 minus 1, and that would be 1. This whole thing will be 1. Like, this whole parentheses right here will be 1. And so now we actually had to do left to right. In this case, it didn't matter really, but it's common practice to first, it's kind of my mistake, to first do this. So we know 5 squared since exponent, 25, and then do 1 squared, but it basically doesn't really matter at this point, but in much more complicated expressions it does. So let me erase this. So this is basically 25 divided by 5 plus 1, which is what we have here so far. 25 divided by 5 is 5, and then that plus 1, and that gives us the final answer of 6. Okay, last question. So yeah, this looks a bit complicated, but if we look at that internal rule that I mentioned earlier, it will be very easy. And if you look at this, you don't really need to do another division because it's divided by 1, so it's the same thing. So just solve the parentheses. So first, let's look at the very internal one, 3 by 3. We erase this. So 3 by 3, right? We will... Okay, this is going to take some time to write, but 5 times 6. Okay. 5 times... Oops. 5 times 6 times 4 times 1. And basically, yeah, I'm not writing the 4 times 1 because 4 times 1 is basically just 4, so I'll just leave it like that. So now we already got 5 times 6 times 4. And then we do the 6 times 4 here. So we get 5 times 24, or like the normal way of writing that, 5, like the dot for multiplication, times 24. And this is going to equal 120. And remember, I divided by 1, and that's basically the same thing, so the final answer is 120. Thank you for watching the first episode of our brand new series on basic math by Mr. Encyclopedia, and I hope you learned something new about the order of operations. See you next time. Bye.